Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Thursday, ahead of Game 5, and all of today's guests, including Farhan Lalji, standing by, brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Vancouver Giants season ticket packages are now on sale. All season ticket packages now include access to WHL Live, so you never miss a game, as well as the first 2 home playoff games, plus flexible payment plans are available with no additional cost. For more information, email sales@vancouvergiants.com or call 604-4-GIANTS. Elias Pettersson's best friend, Farhan Lalji from TSN, joining us now. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Was it that bad? Come on. They were all fair questions, were they not?
Oh, no. I thought your questions were fine, but it seems like he doesn't like you. Is that the case?
Yeah, maybe. You never know. I think I probably asked him about 5 questions, and 2 of them I got short answers, but 3 of them actually got really good, meaningful answers. So I'm going to go with the positive because I'm a glass half full kind of guy. But look, Donnie, you know this, right? Like the media environment when you were in the rooms, right, was a lot different than it is now. And it was tougher then. And I don't want to be old man yelling at clouds, but right now there's only a small number of us that will ask difficult questions. So, I tend to think Petey's figured out who they are, and, he kind of gets into that uncomfortable mode when those people are asking questions or when certain questions are asked. And look, at the end of the day, even though the cynic would say, look, it's his job, he's supposed to talk. I also am sympathetic to the fact that it's been a tough time for him. We all know it's been a tough time for him. He could have found a way to duck and avoid, but he didn't. So I'm going to give him credit for being available. And, I think he did the best he could in a forum that he's very uncomfortable with, right? He generally has never been good with the media. When times are good, there might be a quip that we all kind of laugh at and everything's comfortable, but he's not good with the media. And when it's a tough time like this, that's going to show even more, right?
Yeah, and to your defense, the short answers and what could be perceived as grumpiness, I think, this is just my opinion, comes across as good television. It's interesting, and it's a discussion point. So good on you for asking those questions. How do you feel he came across to the public?
I think he came across as one of 2 things: sympathetic or dismissive, right? Either or. So it just kind of depends on what side you sit on. And I think his performance in the last 3 months has really polarized him in the market, right? I mean, people want this guy to do well, but there's half of the side that's saying, you got to play him with better line mates. And then there's the other half that says, we're going to pay this guy $11.6 million for the next 8 years, and we're going to have to deal with this. Like, is this what this is going to look like? So it's become polarizing. The injury topic is an interesting one, right? And Rick, you probably know this better than anybody, but if he's going to – I hope he's hurt. I really do.
Yeah,
and I don't say that with a level of negativity. I for his sake, hope he's hurt. Like, I hope at the end of this season, somebody leaks the information to Rick Dhaliwal about what he's actually been dealing with. And we know and can put some reasonable explanation on this, because this isn't 10 playoff games, right? This has been 3 months. And if he's not hurt, oh boy, right? Like, organizationally, you are in trouble if you worry that, because then it's not a slump, right? This could be a complete change in trend of play for the players. So, the team and the player, I mean, look, it's tough, right? I mean, if the team wants to protect the injury, then Petey can't say anything, right? And that's just the way it goes. But the organization's been pretty adamant. And Rick Tocchet, when he puts Petey in that category of, we got guys that need to get going. I didn't even know if they know it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't know if he's that hard on him if there's actually an injury at play.
Yes.
So, it's really tough to get a handle on this. But if it's a slump, it's like nothing I've ever seen for an elite player.
Yeah, this time of the year, Farhan, a lot of those star players, they're not 100%. You just know that. There's a lot of aches and pains and bumps and bruises, not just for Pettersson, for a lot of guys.
Which is different than injury, though, right?
Well,
It's different than meaningful injury. That's all right. Dealing with bumps and bruises.
Yeah, no one ever said, especially on this show, that he was injured, Farhan. What we did say was we felt that he had bumps and bruises, and we felt he wasn't 100% that way. Okay, listen, so many side stories. We got a massive game tonight. Best of 3, every single game in this series has been decided by 1 goal. And I don't think that's going to change the rest of the way. I'll be surprised. But these are 2 evenly matched teams going at it. It's down to best of 3 with home ice for the Canucks.
Yeah, and I think if you're a Canuck, you should feel pretty good about where you are, right? Because one of the beauties of the playoffs, guys, is just the emotional swings from game to game, from the players, but really from the fan bases. I've always been most impressed. The thing that impresses me most, like, no sport elevates its game in the playoffs like hockey, like the Stanley Cup playoffs. In football, you just eliminate the bad teams, right? In baseball, we just care more about every pitch. Basketball games get worse, right? Like high-flying teams got to play half-court offense. Like, the games are ugly, whereas in hockey, it's so incredible. And I've always been so impressed by the players' ability to park it, right? I think that's the single most important skill you need in the playoffs is the ability to park it. And players can, and they have in this series. The fans haven't, right? When Vancouver goes up 2-1, we're like, oh, wow, like they could end this in 5, right? And now it's like, oh, my God, they're going to lose in 6. So it's going to be a close game. You're right. And, I thought there was always going to be that one game in this series where Edmonton really got away from them and it kind of blew up. And the Canucks just haven't allowed that, right? Whether it's their in-zone defensive structure, that even if most of the games played in their end, it doesn't necessarily lead to high-end chances, or Shelov's has been good, or, the Canucks have been able to come back late. Like, whatever it is, the Canucks have just not gone away and died here. And I just don't expect that to be the case at any point. They will continue to fight, and it's going to be close throughout. So expect another 1-goal game, expect a few emotional swings in the game, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been such a fun series, except for that toxic element of Canuck Twitter and Oiler Twitter, right? Like, the worst in the league. Both are like 30th and 31st in the league. And not all of them, but there is that dark, toxic side of both Twitter fan bases that is just gross to be, I've muted so many people on both sides in the last week and a half. My goodness.
Yeah, it crosses a line. It's toxic. There's so many negative people. There's so many people hiding behind fake names, fake accounts, all that stuff. People have dual accounts. Twitter is an emotional roller coaster.
And you're on it 24/7.
Hey, you are tweeting 3:30 in your hotel room on Twitter, so don't give me that crap. Farhan, Demko, what are the chances here? Because I'm hearing big strides, but I'm also hearing not close yet.
What are you hearing?
Big strides. What did I say? Big strides. What are you hearing on Demko? Is there a chance? I'm hearing Game 7 possibly.
Yeah, and I've always thought it was a reach to think he would play in this series, and I'm not suggesting the people that are telling you he's playing aren't being truthful. I just think there are probably some people that are being optimistic. And the deeper we get into this, you're going to realize that, hey, do you really want to risk this? Now, a lot's going to depend on Shelov's, right? Like, if Shelov struggles tonight, are we having this conversation for Game 6? I don't know. But I think it's reached because here's my thing. I think Demko's pushing, and I think the organization wants to placate him to a point and keep him happy by keeping this alive for him. But a Demko that is 90% physically is probably 60% mentally, right? And when I say mentally, I mean like thinking about the injury. And we've seen in previous times in his career that coming back from an injury has affected his technique and created further injury. So, I just don't think, even if he's feeling physically sharp, that it's mentally going to be out of his mind. So I don't know that I would risk throwing him in that high leverage of a situation. So the best the Canucks should hope for is that Shelov's does well and allows this decision to get pushed back, for weeks yet at a time here. And if the Canucks advance, maybe we see him in the next round. I don't think it'd be a good thing for him to play in this series, even in a Game 7.
Okay, Farhan, before we let you go, you work at TSN. The news today that Darren Dutchyshen has left us at the age of 57. How well did you know Darren?
I got to know Darren really well over the years. We would talk a lot. I haven't talked to him as much in the last couple of years that he's been dealing with this, but we have emailed and texted from time to time. But, the Dutchie that you saw on television is the Dutchie you saw in real life, right? Like, this guy was a larger than life figure. I'd call him, he'd be like, well, how's your bench? And I'd be like, about half of yours. And, you'd see him at Grey Cups and, you'd see him jacked even when he was dealing with cancer. And we saw him the last time, he no filter, a guy that could get away with saying things that the rest of us couldn't, and you just loved him for it. The life of the party, the brightest light in the room, and like it's a hole at TSN, right? He's one of the pillars. He has been there for a long, long time, and wow, like just to think about our place without him and the number of people he's impacted taught me a lot early in my career, and was just a friend throughout. So, my condolences to Kate, my condolences to Dutchy's family, but a real Canadian television icon in my mind.
Well said, Farhan. Thanks so much for this, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, see you guys. I'll be in a better spot too.
It's just
hopefully.
Listen, if you're on camera, it's fine. The background doesn't matter. Looking good.
Thanks, guys.